Now, into the ticket office of Disneyland.
Oh boy, let's do this.
Don't think the CIA is going to be trying to hack your second-gen iPod.
I didn't think so. There might have been a lot of illegal music on there. I wouldn't doubt it. But, I mean...
You were supposed to bring death to the flagships, not join them.
Google has found a new way to piss me off.
It sounds like we're going to need some content, so don't talk.
Behind-the-scenes camera crap.
Here, tell us about courage, Phil. Tell us about courage.
I am Manila. I can't do it anymore without laughing. I was going to do the whole thing. Welcome, everyone, to the Calling All Platforms podcast. I am your host, Wes, and I'm here with a cough, as well as Landon.
Hello.
And Caleb.
Hey.
Changed it up a little bit on you guys right there. You should have seen their faces. You can't see them, I know, but it was pretty good. No, I do apologize, dear listener. I kind of have a cough today, and it's kicking my butt, so... Landon, good luck. That's all I'm going to say with editing this podcast.
Listener, I will say, Wes did, before we started, tell me that for your benefit, he would mute his microphone as much as he could. And I asked him if he was going to do it while he was talking, you know. So I can't guarantee that that's going to happen. But if you don't hear Wes for the rest of the podcast, that's why.
I just left it on mute, and you guys are like, totally.
Yeah.
Just roll with it.
Well, listener, we're going to get into this. This is probably going to be kind of a slow week just because this is like the calm before the storm.
Yeah.
The second storm, the third storm, whatever we call it.
I feel like this is, you would consider this the eye of the storm, right? Like we've had a whole bunch of like large news things.
Yeah.
Here's the calm in the middle, and then a whole bunch more news things is coming over the next couple weeks. So,
yep. The next couple of weeks, we'll go ahead and go over that. So, as we're recording Sunday the 4th.
Yes.
And tomorrow, 5th, is going to be WWDC.
Yes.
So you will be listening to this after that has happened. Sorry we don't have thoughts on it because it hasn't happened for us yet.
Yeah. So. We could sit here and engage in wild speculation about the possible performance of the rumored M2 based MacBook 15-inch MacBook Air that's supposed to be coming out, or how, lackluster the improvements are that they've made to the M2 Max and the M2 Ultra for the new Mac Studio update, or how ridiculous it is that they've enabled sideloading apps in Europe, but they won't let us sideload apps here in iOS 17, and yada, yada, yada. These are the types of things we're expecting. Or the absurd, outlandish pricing of their AR/VR headset, which is supposedly going to get teased tomorrow and launched later this year and cost like $3,000. So yeah, lots of things we're expecting to happen tomorrow morning. No idea. No idea what any of those things actually are right now, listener. But based on what I just said, if you've seen any news articles by the time you listen to this podcast about any of the stuff that I've just said confirming any of those things, you might be able to suss out from my tone how I feel about them in advance. So write your bets down now for next week's podcast when you can find out how does Spendlove actually feel about this.
Also known as underwhelmed.
Yeah, more than likely. Let's be honest. I will be happy if I manage to come out of this event whelmed, to say nothing about like overwhelmed or impressed. Like just don't disappoint me, Apple. That's literally all I'm asking here. Don't do anything incredibly stupid, which it's too late. They already have. I don't know.
But also that same day that we record on the 11th, the Xbox showcase will happen for the games, and I'm going to assume within that time frame it's very possible there will be another Nintendo Direct, and people are saying a bunch of other games and things through this week. Possibly next week there's going to be a lot more. We won't be having thoughts or anything unless something ridiculously major happens. And I don't know what ridiculously major is, like, I don't know, ABK closed or something. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, we would mention that.
Then we would mention that. But it'll so when we record for next week, it'll all be about WWDC, our thoughts, our tangents, everything come true for Caleb to, have a meltdown. So
yeah.
And then after that week after, then we'll catch up on all the gaming and everything and see what happens. Because you never know. I mean, with everything that's going on, Landon's probably going to have some news on, Netflix games and all the mobile games and stuff. So we'll probably see. How's that Netflix treating you there, Landon?
It's not.
It's not.
So, listener, an update from last week when I said that I had not tried to get on Netflix yet. Well, I have since then, and it's a no-go. I cannot access Netflix anymore unless I want to pony up and pay for it, and I'm not doing that because it's not worth it, and Netflix is stupid, so I'm not giving them more money to prove that to make them think they were right, because they're not.
Yeah. This is called
Amen.
Using your money where your mouth is, right?
Yeah,
there. So.
this is how you vote in capitalism.
Yes. So, all right. Well, let's get into this. So, of course, we're always talking about AI. How many times did Google as well as Microsoft say that in their presentations? Too many. Let's talk about an AI that's finally being laid to rest. Cortana.
Wait.
I thought this happened a while ago.
Look, I'm sorry. I saw the the scene in Halo Infinite when they confirmed she was dead. I refused to accept the whole this new Cortana is a thing. No. And that's on top of the fact that didn't Microsoft kill Cortana 3 years ago?
So in 2019, they announced that they would start disassembling, getting rid of it and everything. So they came out and said that by 2023, so this year, at the end of this year, she will no longer be in Windows 10 or 11.
See, okay, I know what actually happened. So I think she has been gone from Windows 10. And now, because their Windows 11 is catching up to Windows 10, instead of adding features, this is when they have to take away from Windows 11.
She's still in the code base somewhere. She's hiding. It's they've
you can't make me laugh like that. You're killing me. Oh,
they've finally managed to get Windows Defender updated to such a point that it can actually remove Cortana from Windows.
Yep. At least on Windows
That's
11.
Right.
Yeah. Windows 10 had been updated enough that it's gone, but Windows 11 needs to catch up again.
Man. Personally,
and it's only on the beta version of Windows 11.
Yeah,
the regular users will still have Cortana for another year and a half,
depending on what insider ring you're in. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yes.
No.
Depending on which of the 7 rings of insider program, otherwise known as Inferno. You're in Microsoft.
Those of us that are installing Windows 10 again, Cortana is no longer going to yell at you when you're installing.
Depends on how old your installer is, though.
I guess you're right.
Because you're going to install it, it's going to be like, hey, I'm Cortana, and then you're going to install updates, and she's going to die. Just, no. This is sad now.
That's going to be the only time that Windows asks, are you sure you want to update?
Yeah,
and it's going to be Cortana asking, are you sure you want to do this? Because I won't be here anymore.
See, what I think's happening is I don't think Cortana's gone. I think they're just taking the voice stuff out and then just rebranding it to the Copilot, to be totally honest. They're like, we'll just take that and move forward. Better branding, I guess. Although the gamer inside of me still is like, dang it. You had something. You had something.
The 90s child inside of me is like, well, just reband it to Clippy. And
yeah,
I think
true.
Everything
I was also
out.
saying, you got Clippy.
Yeah.
Dude, I still see everybody saying, hey, just call it Clippy.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think Clippy was as universally hated as people like to pretend it was. I think most of it thought it was ridiculous and kind of useless, but also charming in its own weird way.
So we won't be having that anymore. So I figured I'd announce that in case you were stuck it out farther than I did with Windows Phone that you're with there with Cortana. So she's finally going to be gone. So other big news was kind of more on the ABK stuff. They had their tribunal about the appeal, if you will, for the CMA. They had a big talk about it, and the judge, to appoint other judges, they said they'll I believe it was the day before the ABK deal was supposed to be done, basically, the time frame. And I can't remember what day that was. It was in July. I'll have to look that up here. But they set it for that, so we'll know if there's a turn of events in July for that. So honestly, that's well, it.
All right.
There's a lot of speculation. There's a lot of things of what Microsoft could do, but right now it's just up in the air. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. Well, we still haven't heard the FTC's final verdict, have we?
No, they. Now I don't know the laws, but basically Microsoft could just close before they hear the verdict, and I believe theirs is August 26th, somewhere in August, in the 20-something, for them to have that. But from what I've heard is they could just close with everybody and then just be like, okay, FTC, we'll go to court, but everyone's benefiting from this, so let's see how well your thing's going.
Right.
But I don't know. I could be wrong.
Like the FTC would have to have a pretty airtight court case because giant corporations in the United States are technically individuals under the law. And so in order to convict them of anything, you have to have an overwhelming abundance of information available, like to convict. And I don't think they have that for this purchase. And the fact that the EU let it go through kind of suggests that they're not going to find it. So I don't suspect that the FTC is really going to try and shoot it down. They may come at them and be like, hey, you need to add a couple of provisions to the actual purchasing agreement or something like that to make it do this so that, you know, as like a reassurance that it's not going to be a monopoly or something.
Yeah.
But that's, I don't know. Microsoft has been dodging antitrust law since like the late 80s. So they're quite adept at this.
Yeah.
So, I feel like they'll be okay.
So we'll know then. So that's kind of all the news on that. So that's really all the news that I have on Microsoft's side. Like I said, they're going to be pretty quiet till the 11th. And then once that happens, we'll have game news and then probably July more, unless there's some random CMA decides, okay, we were wrong, but who knows what'll happen. So we'll just keep you up to date when we can. And you may see it the day of, because that's huge news before we get to it. So it's possible. Anywho, let's go ahead and move over to Landon. Landon, what do you got for us?
I have one piece of Google news, and it is technically hardware Google news, but it's not new hardware by any means. So, listener, 10 years ago, Google came out with probably its most successful and well thought out piece of hardware that they've ever created. And that was the original Chromecast. Yeah. And that thing was fantastic. It cost $25. You could get it pretty much anywhere, especially like Best Buy was probably the place where most people got it. But it was an excellent piece of hardware. It just worked the way that they said it would. You could plug it into your TV and you could cast stuff from your phone to your television. And it was super easy to use. And it just worked. It's very Apple of them. And that original piece of hardware is officially, as they say, end of life. So it no longer has support, no longer is going to be fixable by Google or anything like that if you had any problems with it. Which, at this point, I mean, just buy a new one. You can get a new Chromecast with Google TV for, you know, on app. You could easily get it for about $25 most places. I mean, MSRP is for higher than that. I think they want to retail it at like $50, but if you pay $50 for it, you're doing it wrong. But I mean, I have two of them. I've got one in my TV that I don't use very often, and I've got one that's still sealed in the packaging because Google just gave it to me. And I'm like, oh, what am I doing with this? I don't know. But the Chromecast is still, like, in my opinion, one of the best things to come out of Google, and it's still one of the easiest things to use. It just works. And like Chromecast technology is now built into a lot of TVs, and it's just great. It's easy to use. Like, even people that are not tech savvy, like I know plenty of people that are not tech, their tech and them are not friends. and they can use a Chromecast, and they do on a regular basis. It just is easy to use, and it just works. So,
Yeah.
And the fact that Google has stuck behind Chromecast for 10 years is, amazing.
Unparalleled.
I mean,
The only other products Google offers that they've stuck behind, like the Chromecast, are Gmail and like web search, like
Chrome, Gmail, Chrome, and search. Yeah. So
like that's kind of it.
Yeah, pretty much. So
okay, I guess. How long has Google Docs been a thing? Has that been 10 years yet? It's probably been over 10 years, right?
It's been a while. That's true. That's
okay.
fair. Not like they've done much to make it better. Well, they have, but
yeah, they've got their business side of things, like the G Suite stuff that they've been making improvements to.
That's true. But anyways, the OG Chromecast is now end of life, and that's fine. It's 10 years old. If you, like I said, you should probably upgrade if you still have one of these.
I mean, did that thing even output 1080p? Or was that one doing 720 10 years ago? Like, that might have been a 720p output signal.
It might
In
have
which
been.
case, listener, you need to upgrade your TV as well as your Chromecast.
Yes.
And in the process of upgrading your TV, you might be able to just get a TV that has a Chromecast built in.
Yes.
So, like, maybe just do that.
Very, very true. I mean, you can easily get a TV that has Chromecast built in and AirPlay support. So, I mean, you're covered on both sides of the spectrum right there.
It's true.
Just do that. Buy a new TV. And if you happen to need something and you don't want to fork out a couple $100 for an Apple TV or something like that, get a Chromecast. Or, again, buy a television that has Google TV built in.
Yeah.
Because that is also a thing. Anyways, that's the Google news I have for this week. But I have other new hardware news. Ooh. This is not Google related, but it is still good. Motorola announced 2 new Razr phones, and I'm very excited about both of them. So they have the regular Motorola Razr, and then the Razr Plus. I'm also hearing the regular one called the Razr Minus, and I like that a little better. But it's fun. So let's talk about the Razr Plus, because that's the one that most people are going to see and talk about. Let's go over the specs really quick. It's got the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 chip in it. It's got the inside display is a 6.9-inch POLED display with a 22:9 aspect ratio and a 1080p display with 165 hertz LTPO, which is really nice. And the external display is a 3.6-inch display, and it's basically a 1-to-1 aspect rate. It's not technically 1-to-1. It's
pretty close.
It's 1066 by 1056. So it's a 1-to-1 aspect ratio. And it's also 144 hertz display. So that's pretty cool. It's got 8 gigs of RAM, 256 gigs of storage, a 3,800 milliamp hour battery, which is 1,000 milliamp hours bigger than the previous generation Razr, which is impressive. It is running Android 13 because Android 14 is not available yet. The front camera is a 32 megapixel sensor. And then the main camera is on the back. It's got a main 12 megapixel sensor and then a ultra wide 13 megapixel sensor, and that ultra wide also doubles as the macro sensor, which is just using software to make it do that. Kind of how the Pixel works, the same way. It's got 30-watt fast charging and 5-watt wireless charging. So not fast, but it does have wireless charging, which is a first on a Razr phone. And its starting price is $1,000, which is impressive. And this is the higher end of the two. The Razr Minus doesn't have a price yet, but the fact that you have a flipping phone for under $1,000, the specs on that one are a little less, but they're not bad. Like, it doesn't have the bigger outside display. It's got a 1.5-inch outside display, which is basically kind of what Samsung gives you on their phone.
Yeah.
The internal display is the same size, but it's 144 hertz instead of 165, so it's a little less there. And it's only a 1080p display, but it has a larger 4400 milliamp hour battery, which is nice because it doesn't have that bigger outside display. They have more space in there to put a bigger battery, which is good. And it also has the Snapdragon 7 Gen 1 chip instead of the 8, so it's a little lesser on the specs, but it's more or less almost identical in a lot of other ways. But they don't have a price on that one yet. But that could potentially be $800 or less for a phone that folds in half and gets smaller and is really cool.
Yeah.
But my favorite thing about this phone, on the Razr Plus, that is that outside display, because it's not just a ticker display that shows little notifications as a clock and stuff like that. It can run more or less full on Android. Like, it's got some limitations to it, and it's got different, like, you can have a certain amount of pages that are set up differently. Like, there's you can have like a widget page that's got like Spotify or something like that on it, and it's full. Like, you can go have full Spotify basically. You can go in, change what playlist you're listening to, skip songs, like songs, or a bunch of different things on that outside display. You can read text messages, respond to text messages. Like, it's got a full keyboard out there that you can use as well. Like, it's basically like opening up the phone. You can do almost everything that you can on the main display on that outside display. Now, obviously, not all apps are going to play nicely to that. But for little things like responding to a text message or listening to music or different things like that, it's going to work great. But my favorite thing is they've got some pre-installed games on this phone that are meant to be played on that outside display. One of which is, listener, you've probably seen like the physical games that have a little, like a BB inside. It's like a maze, and you got to maneuver it around, and then it drops into a hole. They've got that on this phone where it uses the gyroscope of the phone and figures out where you are, and then it goes through the maze, and then the marble little thing drops into the hole that is also the camera, which is fantastic. But I'm really liking this phone. I still, like, I won't get one just because the folding phones are not quite to the place that I want them to be hardware-wise. Like, on the main screen, there's still going to be a major crease there, obviously. But I like where these things are progressing, and I like, if I were to get one, I'd probably, I mean, I'm kind of torn because Samsung has the better software when it comes to these type of phones. Motorola, I like their hardware a lot more, and I like this outside display. And the price at $1,000.
The price,
yeah, like
on these,
if you're buying a regular flagship phone, you're spending this much money. Like,
yeah. Well, so my thing is that, like, traditionally, when folding phones of this form were first a thing, I would have gotten the Razr because it looked cooler. Like, it just looked better.
True.
The classic styling and all that stuff. I'm actually bummed out by the Razr Plus because it has ditched that. I mean, the styling for both phones. They have ditched the classic Razr-inspired flip phone styling. Doesn't have a chin anymore. It's more, it looks like a flip, a Z Flip. That's what it looks like now.
True.
In terms of the physical shape of the thing. Their hinge is different. I do like their hinge better than Samsung's. It folds flatter. And I at first blush, I saw the Plus and I saw that big outside screen and I was like, oh my gosh, that's great. But then the more I saw it demoed and the more I realized this really allows you to do basically everything that you do most of the time on the phone right there on the outside display, I thought to myself, you know what else had a 3-inch display? the original iPhone. So anybody who is saying like, oh, you can't actually use your entire phone on a 3-inch yeah, you can. I'm sorry. That's where smartphones started. And you can totally still use that to do everything. And I totally would, to save the convenience of having to flip the thing open. But what's the point of having a flippy phone if I can't flip it open? Like somebody pointed out, you can accept calls with the phone closed. And you can make a phone call and then hang up without having to open the phone. And I'm like, where is the satisfaction in hanging up a flip phone without flipping it closed? Without that snap, like what's the point? So I kind of like, I look at that outside display and I'm like, I feel like this probably is the future of this category, but I don't like it. Like it's not for me.
Now I haven't looked into this enough to know for sure, but I would imagine that if you're answering a phone call via the outside display, it's going to be on speakerphone or you're using earbuds. Yes. And
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
That's the downside. So in the phone's defense, you can and have a better experience, open the phone still to use it as a phone. Right. And I would say do that, because you shouldn't be the person carrying your phone in front of your face in speakerphone talking to everyone.
Call. Yeah. No, that's true. That's true. And I think that in general, the better experience will be had by opening the phone up. But I just know that with these larger screens on the outside of the phone, there's going to come a day where I'm going to be out in public somewhere. I'm going to see somebody pull out their little flip phone, respond to a text message on the outside display, and put it back in their pocket. And I'm going to be like, I could have just given you an iPhone 4S. Like, if you just wanted a smaller phone in your pocket, you could just be carrying one of those around. Like, I'm just saying. So that was like my reaction to the Plus. I like that the price is not super high. Like the specs are not like totally top end, like the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, whatever the CPU is in that, is like last year's top end chip. Yeah. So it's like, it's not like bleeding edge specs, but it is flagship specs for sure. And the price is good. And so it was looking at that price and then looking at the slightly lesser specs, but still pretty reasonable specs of the regular Razr, that I was like, okay, that's going to be about $800, I would guess, is where they're going to price that, which, given that it's a Motorola, means you can probably get it for at least $100 off of that price within a month or two of it launching, because that's how Motorola's pricing tends to go. And that is pretty darn compelling, considering that's the starting price of the iPhone.
Yeah.
Like, this is basically Motorola going, hey, you could pay $800 for last year's iPhone, or you could get a phone that feels like a genuine massive step forward in terms of the future of mobile devices, and it costs the same or less than Apple's device. And it's back to those couple of years just before Apple released the iPhone 6 again, where they released the 5 and the 5S, and like, on the one hand, the 5S did feel like a huge step forward in terms of mobile devices because of the processor, but that was it, Otherwise, they were lagging years behind everybody else in terms of hardware, like handset hardware design. And that's what this feels like. This is Motorola saying, look, for the same price as the cheapest new iPhone, you can get the next step forward in hardware design years before Apple is going to be ready to launch anything like it. And that's pretty darn compelling to me, especially when the thing that I hate Apple for most right now is discontinuing the iPhone mini. Yeah. Because it just fits so nicely in my pocket. And you know what else would fit so nicely in my pocket? A 6.9-inch iPhone folded in half. So there's definitely that part of me that's like, yeah, the Plus, the Razr Plus, not really my thing. The outside screen is kind of weird to me, and it's still a little expensive, and it doesn't have the styling that I really loved about the original Razr phones. But the minus has the form factor that I love. It feels like a step forward in terms of hardware design. It's tiny, fits in my pocket, and potentially costs less than a new iPhone. So, I mean, good job, Motorola. Like, the fact of the matter is, they're sitting on this right now, having almost convinced me to switch to Android come this fall. Like, That's wild.
Yeah. And the other thing that would have made this harder for me to recommend was Motorola. Ever since Lenovo bought Motorola, their software update schedule has dropped dramatically. I mean, the benefit they had before was they were owned by Google, so they got updates really fast. Like faster than some Nexus phones back in the day, which was impressive. But since then, it's gone down. With this phone, though, Motorola has said that they are going to be giving 3 OS upgrades, which is good. It's not quite to the level of Samsung and Google, but it's still better than a lot of Android manufacturers. And they're also saying 4 years of not monthly security updates, but bi-monthly security patches, which is still really good. So, And so the software issue that was there is not there anymore, at least shouldn't be there anymore.
Yeah,
and the other nice thing,
at least a lot less of an issue.
Yeah. The other nice thing that I would definitely prefer this phone over Samsung's phones is the main user experience on the phone. Samsung's One UI is just not my favorite. I mean, I've stressed this over the years that we've been doing the podcast, so you probably already know this. But Motorola runs nearly identical software to what you will find on a Pixel phone, with some minor tweaks. Like, they've got their own things in there that you can customize different things with. They're not bad things, though. They're nice things to have. So that, I mean, right there, that just makes this phone, to me, the more compelling of these foldable, flippable phones. Just the fact that it's got software I know I'm going to like, and they're promising these updates, which is also a good thing. So, yeah, and for like Caleb said, the price just makes this so very nice and very compelling.
Yeah.
Like, it's really, it's a good step for Motorola, I think.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
But that is all of my news for this week.
Good. Old hardware news. It's always fun.
Hardware is always fun.
All right. Well, we'll move over to Caleb. Caleb, do you have any regular news, or do you want to go into gaming?
My only regular news is there's an Apple event tomorrow morning, listener, which will have already happened by the time you hear this. So, yeah, we'll be getting back to you. I've already shared kind of what I expect to happen, and like I said, based on my tone, you can probably determine how I expect to feel about it. Anyways, no, I just have gaming then beyond that. So
we'll take us into it.
Oh, here we go. Okay, so on this week's segment of Spendlove Rants,
yeah.
So this is a piece of news that broke a couple of weeks ago, actually, listener, and we didn't really talk about it because it's not necessarily like groundbreaking news for most people, because as it happens, Overwatch 2 is not doing super duper well in terms of player base size. Certainly not as well as I think Activision Blizzard hoped it would when they moved to a free-to-play model. But this is indicative of a trend in AAA gaming, and so I'm bringing it forward kind of less as a piece of news and more as a discussion topic. So that is that Blizzard has officially canceled Overwatch 2's PvE story mode. Now, you may recall, listener, back when they first said, hey, we're releasing Overwatch 2 last year. They're like, yeah, we're going to put it out. It's just going to be the PvP for now, but it's moving to a free-to-play model. Then we're going to add PvE to it later, and you'll have to pay for that. It'll be almost like a separate game that you tack on as like an add-on that you pay for.
Yep.
That was the original plan when they were talking about Overwatch 2. Now, Overwatch 2, as a unit, as a game, as a fundamental concept, only exists because of the promise of the PvE stuff and the talent trees, right? Yep. So talent trees were a concept that when they first announced Overwatch 2 back in 2019,
I think it was.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
When they first announced it, they introduced that kind of alongside the PvE stuff, the story mode stuff. But the talent trees were going to also come into play in the actual PvP stuff as well, like where you could build up, based on your performance, right? Your skill, your ability to play the game. You'd be able to build up your own ability at certain characters so that you could basically take your one trick and turn it into like a customized, personalized one trick hero, such that like playing against a hero in the game wouldn't matter as much as the person who was playing that hero,
Right. Yep.
So that was kind of the concept behind talent trees. It wasn't going to be anything like, first of all, they said specifically that you weren't going to be able to pay to get talents and stuff like that, that it was going to be like, based on your skill, based on your ability to actually play the game, win games, do things with the character, so on and so forth. So that was kind of how they presented it. I thought that was an interesting way to approach like multiplayer PvP, but mostly, personally, I was just very excited for the PvE stuff because the characters in the world of Overwatch were very interesting. I mean, it was originally based on an MMO, Project Titan, way back. That's what Overwatch sprung from. And with this announcement, they kind of mentioned that the original Overwatch was supposed to be like, they were still building toward the concept of the Project Titan MMO when they released Overwatch, right? Overwatch was stage 1, PvP. Let's get that. Let's get the world out there, start working on the lore. Stage 2 was the PvE stuff, those story mode missions with the characters. And then stage 3 was going to be the full-on MMO. Okay? That was the whole thing. And so that was the original plan. They launched Overwatch. Overwatch 2 was supposed to be building onto that, becoming stage 2. Something Overwatch 3 in the future, whatever, would have been even more beyond that. Okay? So this is what has been told to us by Blizzard along the entire life cycle of Overwatch. They justified the fact that the last couple of years of Overwatch 1, so basically like 2020 and 2021, and to a certain extent 2019, it felt like nothing at all happened in the game, and literally like nothing did happen in the game except for a few new skins, because they were working on the next step, right? It was Overwatch 2, it was PvE, it was all this stuff they were adding, the talent trees and stuff like that. They were going to completely change the game. That was what they were working on. And so everyone was like, okay, Overwatch 2 has been left in the dirt. Or, sorry, Overwatch 1 has been left in the dirt, but at least they're working on this next step. We had some kind of promise of what was to come. And then they announced Overwatch 2 as a free-to-play thing. And I think that was the point at which everyone started to realize that maybe there was something wrong. Like, the ship had sprung a leak. And they're all like, yeah, but the PvE is coming. It's coming. It's still a thing. But they released Overwatch 2 PvP. And it was just Overwatch 1 with a large content update. Right? Like, Overwatch 2 is Overwatch 1 with all of the content that they didn't release between 2019 and 2022. Just piled in all at once.
And a store.
Right. And a store. A free-to-play store. Yes. Yep. That's it. That is all Overwatch 2 is. Like, they literally could have just updated Overwatch 1 to be what Overwatch 2 is. It would have required almost no actual effort. Right? So the whole reason for Overwatch 2 existing was PvE. Now, they have said that the lore that was going to be coming via the PvE stuff, they're still going to add into Overwatch 2 via seasonal events and updates along those lines. And that was never enough with Overwatch 1. It's never going to satisfy the people like me that actually wanted a story mode in this game.
Yeah.
Sorry, Blizzard, that's a terrible idea and it's not going to work. It also says to me that we're just basically taking this thing that was supposed to be the next evolution of this game. This thing that was supposed to be step 2 in our 3-step plan to releasing the game that Project Titan was supposed to be, that we wanted it to be a decade ago. We've taken step 2 and we're turning it into monetizable content that we can toss into our seasonal bundles and charge you money for via microtransactions. Like, that is what this is. So, I'm ranting a lot about Overwatch and Blizzard in particular, but what this comes down to is a case where we had game designers who had a plan for a game. They couldn't make that game happen all at once, but they figured out a way to get it there eventually. And so they executed on the beginning part of that plan and released one of the only, in fact, for 2016, I think the only first-person shooter style game that got any Game of the Year awards. So, like, this thing was a massive success to the extent where Overwatch killed entire other games from major AAA developers in that genre just because it was so popular. It was so much better than everything else in the genre that, like, Team Fortress 2's player base suffered, despite the fact that Team Fortress 2 has always been free. Or, well, has been free for a very long time.
Yeah.
And then there were games like Battleborn, which, like, I'm sorry, Battleborn, but you never had a chance, right? Dead on arrival. Stuff like that. Like, Overwatch was so well received, and they built on it, right? They were releasing new content on a regular cadence. We were getting new characters. We were getting new maps. We were getting new events. We were getting new lore snippets and stuff like that. Short films for these characters that were amazing. And, you know, it was great for a couple of years there. The Overwatch League happened. Everyone was super on board. It was awesome. And then the bean counters.
Yeah.
Then the executives. Then the people at the top of the totem pole that were funding, the producers that were providing all of the money from the top down in Activision Blizzard, started going, yeah, but I feel like we could probably be making even more money from this game. And they go to the development team and they're all like, hey, what do we think we can do about making this more profitable? And the development team goes, I mean, we're planning on doing this big update that's going to add, you know, PvE and this talent tree system that we've been working on. That's kind of our next step in our 3-stage plan to get to, you know, this game that we want to make out in the distance. And they're like, okay, yeah, let's move up the timeline on that. Let's start pushing that. Let's get this game ready for release faster. And the development team's like, oh, okay, so we're going to have to stop doing updates to the live game in order to do that. And the producers are like, yes, do that. The executive said, stop working on Overwatch 1, start working on Overwatch 2. Let's do that so that we can sell that. And so they start working on Overwatch 2. And the executives don't get their noses out of the way there. You know, they announce Overwatch 2. They're like, hey, these are all of the cool things that we're expecting to put in Overwatch 2 that make it feel like a brand new game. That's why it's 2 and not just an update to Overwatch 1. The community goes, okay, I see that. Like, I can buy that. And so they start working on it. But the executives are right there. And the executives are like, yeah, but maybe could we put a store in? Like a store for microtransactions and stuff, not loot boxes that you can buy like for a couple of bucks and that we just
People
also
are
give
complaining about
hundreds away
Yeah.
for free. Yeah, no loot boxes. How about just cosmetic items that they can buy, like individual cosmetic items? Sure. Yeah. Okay. We can put a store into that. That seems fine. Oh yeah. Let's make it free to play. So more people come and spend more money on it. We happen to know that actually works very well for certain demographics because King is, you know, one of our companies, and they happen to be literally printing money off of a match 3 game like Bejeweled, for crying out loud. So I'm sure the King executives were in on some of those talks. They're all like, hey guys, we know how to print money. So yeah, that's just exactly what happened throughout the entire thing. All the development of Overwatch 2, right up to release, the executives were just sitting there like, yeah, but how does that make us more money? Yeah, but how does that make us more money? Okay, but how does this make us more money? And they went, yeah, but this PvE thing, how does that make us more money? Oh, it doesn't? Yeah, kill it. Oh, okay, these talent tree things, like for, you know, to make the gameplay more interesting and to reward you for putting in time and effort to get better at the game. How does that make us more money? Oh, it doesn't. Oh, okay. Yeah, like go ahead and kill it. It's like, never mind the fact that it makes the game more fun, and that if the game is fun, people will play it, and people that are playing it are going to be putting money and time into it. No, you can't. There's no direct monetary improvement there, and so no, it's gone. And that is 100% what has happened here. This is a case of yet another game being absolutely crapped on by meddling from executives. And this happens so frequently in AAA game development that, like, I've almost stopped playing AAA games entirely.
Yeah.
Like, at this point now, Blizzard, you have lost my business on Diablo 4 over this. Like, I am so pissed off at Blizzard right now that the best you're going to get from me is I might go play StarCraft, like the first one. I might go play Diablo 2, not Resurrected. Never did buy that. Certainly not going to do it right now. You know, like, I just...
You know, Caleb, if it makes you feel any better, I'll join in with you on this boycott.
You want to play some StarCraft?
I was just meaning I won't play any of the new games, you know.
Yeah, but they do, like, original StarCraft still runs, and that'll run on, like, any of your computers.
I do still have this original StarCraft Brood War discs somewhere.
Man.
But I would need a way to put them into a computer. I don't have a computer with a disc.
Yeah. Yep. Back when Blizzard cared about the gamers. And I don't want to say that I feel like Blizzard as the entire company doesn't care about the gamers. I think the people probably most devastated by this news were the Overwatch development team. Like, I will bet you money.
They had to tell you.
Yeah, exactly. I will bet you money that Aaron, what's-his-face, who's the game director for Overwatch currently, shed tears before he wrote up the blog post apologizing for this happening. I guarantee this was not his call. I'll bet he fought it as hard as he could. And I will bet that fighting this crap is the reason Jeff Kaplan left. Like 100%. He fought it and fought it and fought it, got sick and tired of Activision Blizzard's nonsense, and quit. And Aaron is probably on his way out. I
bet the only reason he's still there is in hopes that Microsoft buys them.
Maybe. That's entirely possible. So yeah, honestly, studio executives at large AAA studios are the bane of existence for gamers right now. And I don't know, like, there is so little hope on the horizon in terms of AAA gaming for stuff like this. We can hope that Microsoft buys this, and we can hope that they give autonomy back to the game creators. And like, Microsoft monetizes games in a different way, so maybe it'll work out that way. But it doesn't always. Like, you look at Microsoft, Halo Infinite, like, it was released in a staged approach with a campaign that was obviously much less than they were expecting, or than the game developers were planning on. You know, like, that campaign was not to the extent that the developers wanted it to be, and they released it, and then the customer response was so negative that they are not going to get to follow through on any of the stuff that they were planning on before. You know, like,
to be fair on that one, the campaign everyone loved. It was the multiplayer that petered off, and they couldn't keep up with it. Is what?
So
to be fair,
the multiplayer released. Yep. And was like, had that moment where it was like, hey, it's Halo multiplayer, and a bunch of people played it. But there were bugs, there were issues, it was rushed. Like, it was rushed out the door, and was not quite finished. And yeah, they did lose a lot of stuff. And then the updates didn't come as fast as they had been promised originally, because they were working to finish the campaign. And then the campaign was also rushed out and also released with bugs, but also some missing features, like missing co-op and stuff like that at release and that kind of thing. Yeah. And so, it's like they clearly had more planned for the campaign, and they clearly had more planned for the multiplayer. But because the game was rushed out for both of them, despite the fact that they did a tiered approach to development and release schedule for them, yeah, people didn't respond super well to it overall. And now it doesn't look like they're going to get to do any of the stuff that they had planned. And it's like, you got to feel for the developers in this case. And then you look at, obviously, the most high-profile failure in video game, I want to say history. I'm going to say history. Cyberpunk 2077 is the highest profile failure in video game history. Just flat out. I honestly, maybe Duke Nukem Forever is worse. But there's not much else up there with those. Daikatana might also be up there, I suppose. But it was rushed, right? Cyberpunk was rushed out the gate by studio executives that just wanted to get it out and in front of people so that they could start making money off of it and not spending money on it. You know? Like that's because it's all about the money to these people, and they're always going to do what makes them the most money.
The CD Projekt Red, are they owned by somebody, or are they private?
They're owned by CD Projekt, which, you know, is so
right. But I didn't know if it was like a
no. So CD Projekt is the publisher and whatnot. Oh, so CD Projekt Red is the development studio. CD Projekt is the publisher of everything that they develop.
Right.
CD Projekt owns a couple of subsidiaries beyond CD Projekt Red, but it's most like they own GOG.
I guess I was thinking like
and I
Bethesda,
else,
you know, before Microsoft bought them, like they were privately owned in a sense.
Yes, CD Projekt is like that. CD Projekt kind of sits where Bethesda used to before Microsoft bought them.
Okay,
so yeah, but it's just this happens so frequently in AAA game development these days, where games are rushed out and released in such a way that the original vision of the folks that made the game, that wanted to create this cool thing for people to play, it just isn't there anymore. It's gone. It's been eaten up by the bean counters and the executives that are just trying to figure out how to wring as much money as possible out of this thing. And there are examples in the opposite direction of what happens when these executives don't get their way. You know, good examples include stuff like, let's see, Elden Ring. You know?
Yeah, that's
just
huge.
So happens to have been the best game of like the past decade, and is going to go down in history as one of the greatest games ever.
It doesn't have a store.
Doesn't have
cosmetics you buy.
Have cosmetics that you buy. It's not funded via microtransactions, and they just took their time and developed it until it was ready to release, and then they released it, and everybody loved it, and everybody bought it and played it and sung its praises and continued to play it, bought the expansion packs. Like, you can't tell me that From Software didn't make money off of Elden Ring. They made all of the money off of Elden Ring. And you know why? It's because it was a passion project that they put in the gosh darn time to make it worth playing. And that's it. It was just good game development. That's why they were able to print money off of that game. No tricks, no trying to fool anybody into doing anything or microtransacting the crap out of it and stuff like that. They just made a good game. And so often that is just lost in AAA game development. This concept that just making a good game is how you sell games. You know?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, man.
It's a different time. Like, I get that, and I understand. Like, I guess both Caleb and I, you know, we'll never have our Blizzard, but where Blizzard is now, we would like it to change. And so with this Microsoft thing, I mean, we already see what's happening, and we know where this road leads to, where they're going to be making Call of Duty. Like, they're going to have Blizzard be making Call of Duties.
Yep.
You know?
Well, I know Overwatch will just be Call of Duty, basically. It'll just turn into that.
So we're hoping that when they're bought and they have money, that Microsoft can let them cook. They have their $1 trillion company. They can let these companies just cook. And, you know, make, you know, if they have to make their Diablo Immortals to help fund the actual Diablo game for a while, okay, sure. Because fair enough. But
and the thing is, like, you know, Microsoft funds things differently than most traditional video game publishers. And so that's why I have hope for this. Like, yes, I presented Halo Infinite as another example of AAA game development kind of falling on its face, which is the case. But on the flip side of that, you have stuff like the new Hellblade.
So, yes, Hellblade 2.
Yeah, Hellblade 2.
Ninja Theory.
I can't remember what the subtitle for that is. But they very much took an indie game. Hellblade 1 was an indie game. And they took that massively successful indie development project and were like, do you have somewhere else you'd like to go with this? And Ninja Theory was like, yeah. And they're like, awesome. Here's the money. Go.
Yeah.
And they started running with it. They announced Hellblade 2 years ago. But we still haven't seen it. And nobody seems to be like pressuring them to get a release date or to whatever. They seem to just be letting the development team that produced a lovingly crafted experience with the first game. They're just letting them produce another lovingly crafted experience with the second one. And they're just letting them go. And it's ready when it's ready, you know? Like, so it seems like Microsoft is willing to do that sort of thing. And we can only hope that if they do buy Blizzard, that they will let Blizzard do that.
Yeah.
You know? Like, as much as I make fun of Valve for never releasing any games and not being able to count above 3 and stuff like, or 2, 3, can't even count to 3. And that kind of thing. Like, we all joke about it. It's become such a meme in the PC gaming industry. But the fact of the matter is, because of Steam, Valve is able to just not care about money, right? Money is just there. Steam funds everything that they do to a huge extent. And so every time Valve does do something, you know that this is top industry professionals have crafted this thing with immaculate precision.
Yes.
And here it is. And that is true. It's weird that lately that has been hardware. You know, like,
True.
Half-Life Alyx, like Half-Life Alyx was an amazing VR experience and stuff like that. But beyond that, they've kind of stopped doing game development. Clearly, it's still happening because Half-Life Alyx happened. So I guess it just depends on what gets enough attention at the company.
Right.
But lately, it's been hardware. First, it was the Valve Index, which is just like, turns out Steam Valve just made the best freaking headset that you can for VR. Yep. And then the Steam Deck, where it's all like, Valve has just redefined PC gaming and created an entirely new segment of the market at a price point that nobody was expecting anyone to be able to hit. So, they've been knocking it out of the park, and they do that every single time because they just let the developers develop and do their thing, you know? And let's hope that Microsoft is able to do that with Blizzard. And in general, let's hope that more video game publishers just do that. Like, just let the developers make this thing that they want to make.
I hope so, too. I do. We are enjoying the, what would you call it, disruption that Microsoft is doing to the video game industry.
Yeah. I mean, I appreciate their disruption. I appreciate the disruption Valve has been throwing into the mix. Like, again, the hardware side of things, they have been mixing it up a ton. I'm here for it. Absolutely. I appreciate the disruption of like minor players in the industry that are just pushing for stuff like emulation of old consoles and that kind of thing. Like being able to go and grab cheap devices that can very accurately emulate like classic Wii games and GameCube games and PS1 games and stuff like that.
I've heard the Xbox Series S, people are just like, that thing is the most emulation thing ever.
Yeah, can be modded absolutely to the moon and back. And even if you don't do that, you can get like these cheap little handheld things that let you play like literally 1 million NES games and stuff like that. And is that legal? No. But
no.
But I appreciate that sort of development is happening in the industry because that is opening up the opportunity for a lot of great games that people haven't played. They can now play them. Like, that's the thing. AAA games would have you believe that unless you are playing the newest, most sophisticated stuff that is being released every year, you are somehow failing as a gamer. And I'm here to tell you, listener, right now, that is categorically the dumbest thing that they have ever said. And this is AAA games. They say a lot of stupid things. So, like, you can go play old stuff. There's so many old games you haven't played that are amazing, that are worth your time. You will love. The gameplay is great, or the stories are great, or it's some kind of classic experience that just isn't possible in today's gaming industry, or something like that. Like, there's a lot of options out there.
It's just like you said, that game Ninja Theory made, the Sinuous Sacrifice.
Yeah.
The Hellblade.
Yeah.
I was late to that one. So I played that one the year Microsoft bought them.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So
yeah.
just before that announcement. And so I played it and I was like, oh my gosh, this... I didn't hear anything. It wasn't on my... So when he says you could play other games and stuff, like I was like, wow, that's actually pretty cool. And then it showed Microsoft bought them and they're going to do another one. I was like, yeah, that's cool.
Now you got to go looking for stuff like that. I was day one pre-ordered. Like I don't pre-order anything. I pre-ordered Hellblade. And I mostly because I'd watched the dev diaries of Ninja Theory while they were building the thing out on YouTube. And I was just impressed with the technology that they were using to get like realistic facial animations and motion capture and stuff like that into a game that was being developed by a team of like 15 people.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was
that's
like,
amazing.
Oh, dang, this looks so good for how many people were involved in it. So yeah, it was like $25 or something like that. I bought the thing. I played it. It broke me. Like that game. Holy crap. Yeah. Like that is a psychosis overload. And I don't have any kind of psychosis, but
that's crazy.
Mad props to the people who deal with anything even remotely like what that game portrays on a day-to-day basis. I just can't even fathom. So, that's the kind of thing that is out there outside of the realm of AAA game development that you can totally find. They're all over the place. And yeah, like just do that. Like, let's just let AAA hemorrhage money for a while, and maybe all of the producers that are there currently will get fired, and then we can go back to having good games released. Like let's play the Elden Rings when they come out, and let's ditch the Overwatch 2s because they're just disappointing in basically every facet. And hopefully this industry will sort itself out from the top, from the bottom up. Let's be honest. That's probably how it'll end up going. Yeah. We'll get some of these people who are just the game developers who just really want to make good stuff. We'll rise to the tops of these companies as the bean counters get pushed out, because it turns out nobody likes bean counters. And we can get this back on track. There you go. That's my rant. It was a whole lot of introspection and retrospection and just mouth frothing triggered by Blizzard making announcements a couple of weeks ago that I've been slowly going through, and now you get to participate too, listener. So thanks for listening. This has been Spendlove Rants, your mini podcast within a podcast.
It was good. No, it makes sense, and like I think a lot of us in the gaming atmosphere, feel that. So I agree. So
Yep. I'm definitely not saying anything super novel or revelatory here.
Right. It's not anything revolutionary. Yeah, everyone feels it. So
yep.
All right. I think that's everything for this week, unless Landon has one more thing.
No.
Okay.
That pause gets longer every week.
Every time it just gets longer.
Well, to be fair, last week I didn't really give any pause, so I had to make up for it.
He did. Good. All right, listener, we appreciate you listening, and I try to mute as much as I can, so hopefully Landon can fix all the coughing and all the bad sound. You might as well just mute me, like I said at the beginning. Just mute me. There we go.
What? I don't know what you're talking about, because this is the first time you've talked since the intro.
Whatever, I was saying yep, and giving Landon some committal noises, or Spendlove some committal noises. All right. So appreciate it, listener, for listening. If you want to get a hold of us, you can at our social media platforms. You can check out some awesome YouTube videos over at our gaming or our YouTube channel, videos on our YouTube channel at Calling All Platforms Games, as well as Calling All Platforms Tech. If you want to throw Landon a bone here by dealing with us two numbskulls and putting a podcast together and engineering it to make it sound ever so awesome, you can hop on our Patreon, donate to that, and support us in any way you can. Dear listener, have a good week.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Calling All Platforms is a production of Supporter Sound Studios. To learn more about how you can support the podcast, go to www.patreon.com/callingallplatforms.